Welcome back, everyone. It's finally a beautiful day here in Denver compared to last week with all the rain and gloom. It is a little bit hazy though from that fire up in Canada, so air quality might not be the best, but it is beautiful nonetheless. So making our way back here, you can see we're making quick work here. We got two of the guys out here shoveling dirt. They got a bunch of dirt there in the basement that we're gonna go check out when we hop down there. With a crew of 4, these things move real quick because as you can see, he's excavating all the dirt right now, and then he's gonna run this over to the trailer. So we're gonna go ahead and follow him. So now that we're at the later stages here of the dig out, we can fit more people here on this job, so things start to move a lot quicker. And you can see that they already got this trailer almost filled up. So once this one is filled up, they're gonna go ahead and take this over to the yard to get rid of all the dirt. And we have our second truck over here with the trailer as well that they're gonna load up after this one. That way there is no downtime today on this job. We're trying to really speed this thing up and get this thing going. On this trailer, similar size to the other one, probably a little bit smaller, but same idea. We're just gonna throw all the dirt back in here. We got a little ramp that you've seen over there that they're gonna put up. Do the same exact process, loading all the dirt in and then taking this one. And then the nice part, like I said, with the big crew is that we don't really have any downtime because one guy's able to take the truck and then the other one can stay here, still wheelbarrowing all the dirt, and then the people down in the basement can just keep shoveling until there's no dirt left to shovel. Just about every 30 seconds, they're able to get a wheelbarrow out of here. So before we head in, I want to showcase the conveyor system again, just because when I'm over here, they don't do this all too often. So as I mentioned in last week's video, you can see by the grooves that we have on this thing, the amount of dirt that's able to be picked up. This is roughly like a 35-degree angle coming out here through the basement, and it does a great job of getting all the material into the wheelbarrow and not letting any spillage happen on either side. So you can see there too, we have a bucket on the end that they throw the dirt into. So if they do miss, they have a wider area to throw into, and it just funnels it all in there. You can see how well that works. And then as you can see, the operator up here has quick access to turn off the conveyor using this switch over here. Let's go take a better look at that while he's out dumping the wheelbarrow. Well, you can see the on-off switch right here. Super easy to operate in that regard too. I didn't show that off in last week's video. And you can see this kind of funnel that I was talking about down here, so they can really load that thing up while they're waiting. And then these grooves, as I mentioned, are able to hold back a lot of material, and you don't have a lot of slippage going back down, so it's not fighting against you. Like I said, beautiful day out here. Great way to start the week here on Monday. But let's go ahead and head down there and see all the progress that they've made in the basement. So they've made phenomenal progress down here in the basement. All the A sections have been poured, and now it's just the B sections that are up snug against the wall. And since these are cured, we're able to kind of bring this dirt all the way back to the wall, because as you remember before, we'd had to leave them like that because that whole like kind of section would be holding the weight of the foundation. So now that the concrete has cured on the A sections, we don't really need that anymore because now they're supported on either side, doing the job of what that used to do. So now it's going to be easier for them to kind of chip away at this and then get this all excavated, and it's a lot less dirt to work with. If we take a peek over here from the corner, you can see now all they got to focus on is getting all this dirt excavated. So today is going to be a lot of shoveling and then a lot of trailer runs with the truck, just getting all this dirt moved out of here and then sent over to the yard for disposal. As well as that, you can see that they trenched their way over here to where the door is going to go. So they've slowly started this process as well, making their way into that section. We have a little bit more to do here on this back wall because, like I said, we're going to focus on getting all this done and then push back that way. Since this is the center of the home, we want everything to be nice and stable before we start, tearing away stuff over here where you won't have that much support. I haven't really talked about this before, but in terms of like weather and stuff, I mentioned last week that there's no real weather in the basement. It doesn't rain or snow on you, which is nice. However, it does either A, get super hot, or B, get super cold. But the nice part is it's easily manageable. We have a nice little cooler right here blowing cool air into here because it is a little bit of a warmer day. So this thing works miracles. So one of these is enough to cool this whole room. Like, it feels pretty good in here. And then on the colder days, a few heaters spread out throughout it, keeps everything nice and warm, and then if you bundle up, it's no problem. So the basement digouts are really nice in terms of having a consistent amount of weather, especially if you have the tools necessary to keep it that way. Another point that I want to bring up this week that I mentioned last week was referring to these nice little sections where the excess concrete goes when we pour. You can see on this one we have this jutting out of the wall and it will kind of get in the way, but like I mentioned before, the guys will come in and then slowly chip away at it. This is kind of a decent example. They got to still come in here and get it nice and flush, but a good example of what we're talking about here would be this one right here. So you can see it's not convex, it's concave, so it goes in. So if they were to come down here and frame a wall right up next to this and need some 2x4s or whatever they're going to put for the framing of the wall, this won't be getting in the way. So they're going to repeat that process when all these footers are poured, knocking off that little excess bit so it's nice and flush. Here it's a little bit hard to tell because of all the dirt that we got around here, but there is a little bit of a footer foundation right here. You can see it goes out about 3 feet from where I'm standing, so from the base of the wall out 3 feet, and that's going to go along the whole perimeter of this basement. So we got a nice beefy little foundation extension down here. So I want to do a little section here before we hop into the time lapse, just answering another question from last week's video. So we got one from JK referring to going all the way down to bedrock for the foundation, and you don't really need to do that, all things considered. If you have some nice stable soil conditions, you should be fine. Like for instance, what we're standing on right now is pretty malleable and breakable dirt. It's not bedrock by any means, and we're still able to drop the foundation here. It's not necessary to go all the way to bedrock. And then for the second part of his question, he asked about moisture control methods. It's pretty standard for everything that we do. A good example of this would be our vapor barrier that we use behind all the concrete that we pour. So this vapor barrier material that we use goes behind all the new footers that we pour, and then it'll go underneath the entire floor when we get to that point. Finally, something else that you can do is do a perimeter drain, which we usually do in case there is some seepage through the vapor barrier. It'll collect in the kind of perimeter drain that we have that you can collect out of a sump pit. So those are two methods that are pretty much standard that we use. So vapor barrier, the perimeter drain. So really good question. If you guys have any more like that, or any that refer to these projects, whether that's basement digouts, foundations, anything that really has to do with concrete, we'd love to answer. We're starting to push more into other projects versus the basement digouts, so that'll be a good opportunity to ask questions on those videos. But that's going to take us straight into the time lapse, so let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I decided to speed the time lapse up on this video just a little bit so we don't bore you with all the excavation, because they did remove a lot of dirt this week and it's a pretty repetitive process. So we're just going to zoom through this time lapse section and kind of just recap what they did for the week. Starting off where we left off last week, they were starting to make all the forms for the footers. You can see all the wood that they brought in and then the kind of general structure that they make to make these forms. So if you watched last week's video, you know that we pour the footer slab first, so that kind of bottom portion section, and then we put the forms on top once that's cured. So all our footers are made in a two-step process for the most part. So you pour that first section and then you form up the second section and then pour that over the cured section on the bottom. But like I said, they got all those formed up. You can see that they're just removing a bunch of material now. And then later here, middle of the week, I want to say this was, they brought in the pump truck to just pour all these. Still digging away. You can see they're going to be doing this for a few days. I think for Tuesday and Wednesday, this is really what they're doing most of the day, was just getting all this material outside of the basement. And then as you can see, as this space starts to open up, we'll start to bring in more crew. So I think here near the middle of the week we had 6 or 7 guys down there, and that really sped a lot of things up. And with such a large crew, they make quick work of all this material that they need to bring out. But now they're going to bring in the pump truck and pour all these footers that I mentioned before. So we have an in-house pump truck guy, so it makes it really easy to pump all the concrete that we need in these tricky or hard to get places. Having this in-house pump truck makes it way more cost effective to do this, and it just speeds everything up. As you can see, they brought that hose in for all of 5 frames and then it was out. So the pump truck has sped up a lot of things and made it just easier for a lot of things as well. So we're really happy to be expanding in that direction here at Gold's Concrete. It's been a huge help and a lifesaver. But wrapping up here near the end of the time lapse, they got those first ones poured and cured, and now they're going to remove those and start work on getting rid of the rest of the material. And that's going to bring us to the end of this week where we started the video off. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that time lapse, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, hopefully next week they'll start moving into the finalization of this project, where we have everything almost poured in terms of the footers, and then we can start work on the final basement slab, and then doing the perimeter drain, vapor barrier, rebar. For the most part, we don't really use rebar in these ones, but really cool to see. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next week.